Sam Greene is the director of the Democratic Resilience at the Centre for European Policy Analysis and author of Putin versus the People. He joins me live via Zoom from Washington, D.C. So this is the first trip the president of Russia has made to the occupied territories of eastern Ukraine, and a surprise visit. Why did he decide to do this now?
Well, one brief correction. He, of course, was in Crimea just a couple of days before this, just immediately before this. And Crimea itself has been occupied Ukrainian territory since 2014. I think that, he is trying to adjust the optics a little bit, right? We've seen Zelensky show up in fatigues as close to the front line as Bakhmut. We've seen President Biden show up in Kyiv in the middle of a war zone in which the United States itself is not directly involved, something that's historically unprecedented. And we've seen Putin, speaking from gilded halls in the Kremlin and from protected bunkers underground, but we haven't seen him be willing to get quite this close to the fighting. I think he wanted to, show that he was very much engaged with this. I think he also wanted to, help really re-up this narrative of a fight that he is engaged with in the eyes of the Russian people.
So aim primarily at a domestic audience inside Russia, or also perhaps a message of defiance to his international opponents as he becomes increasingly isolated?
Well, look, this is a very staged, managed thing. Putin is very careful about his security in particular, and so the plans for this probably will have been put in place well before the ICC announced its indictment back on Friday. And really that indictment makes it difficult for him to have friends around the world, to travel around the world. He, of course, did cross officially into Ukraine from Ukraine's perspective. But I think this really is much more again, about sending a message at home. An international message, I think, will come early next week when he does meet with Xi Jinping from China. As you said, a show of defiance that Russia may be difficult to isolate, despite this decision from the International Criminal Court in The Hague.
And you mentioned that visit. President Putin has written an article for China's People Daily newspaper just ahead of President Xi Jinping's trip to Moscow on Monday. I suppose it's important for him to make a big deal of this. The partnership with China is very important, and perhaps he is looking to get strengthening military as well as diplomatic support from his Chinese ally.
Well, it's interesting. The article doesn't say anything about military support, and it does. It has things that will probably surprise historians. It talks about centuries-old friendship and a lack of conflict between Russia and China. Russia and China, of course, have gone to war on multiple occasions before. But the reality for Putin is that this world that he's found himself in, where he is isolated from certainly Europe and the United States, where he can't trade on the terms that he used to, and where he's now going to have to resist the kind of pressure that he's getting from things like the ICC, is not tenable without not just support from China, but without actually a significant degree of investment and integration to a certain extent with the Chinese economy, right? There's going to have to be much more intensive flows of natural resources out of Russia into China. There's going to have to be much more intensive flows of consumer goods, technology, engineering goods, and services out of China into Russia if the Russian economy is going to be able to stand on its feet for the foreseeable future. And so sending this message that he is inclined to see China as Russia's not just partner of the moment, but really strategic ally for as long as he is in power, is of vital importance to the survival of his own regime at home.
All right. Thank you very much. From Washington, Sam Greene.